Chapter 4. Speaking of stone gambling, Beijing had never participated in it before, and he did not have any knowledge related to stone gambling in his mind. From the current point of view, his ability can indeed perceive jade, but he only tried it once yesterday. I still have to try more. Beijing stood up, put on a clean shirt and black trousers, and walked out of the room. He plans to go to Gu's stone gambling shop to try a few more times. It is best to find out the law of ability perception of jade, and then decide whether to take the stone gambling route. The hall that covers an extremely large area is still full of people, and the seats are full. Beijing can understand this feeling. Although he can bet on Xingwang, just like watching a football game, there is nothing more exciting than watching it live. He approached the crowd and looked at two huge screens in the air. An advertisement for Gu's nutrient solution was playing on the big screen. Beijing glanced at it. The nutrient solution he drank yesterday was of this brand. He couldn't help but think of the introduction about the Gu family that he found when he was searching for information yesterday. As the largest chaebol in the empire, the Gu family has almost monopolized nearly 30% of the jade business in the entire empire. And there are many Gu family in other industries. But Gu did more than that. The traditional stone gambling is to go to the casino to select the rough stone and calcite, and judge the ups and downs according to the jade. The probability of losing 10 bets and 9 betting stones and being bullish is extremely low, but many people still enjoy it. There are indeed many people who participate in traditional stone gambling, but they are far from common. On this basis, the Gu family pioneered the method of stone betting, turning stone gambling into a national carnival. From now on, anyone can bet on Star Online, support their favorite stone gamblers, and enjoy the thrill and excitement of stone gambling. As the owner of the Gu family, no matter who wins, he can make a lot of money, and he can quickly sell the rough stones, make good gambling masters, and at the same time make the name of the Gu family. Beijing did a silent calculation. Every day the Gu family has 10 stone betting battles. Suppose each person bets 1,000 star coins and the number of people on the scene is 1,000. Even if you don't count the betting part of the star network, there will be at least 10 million in turnover every day. It is worthy of being the first chaebol of the empire. That is, he can do business. Of course, for the sake of fairness, the two stone gamblers participating in the stone gambling battle must be of equal strength, and the level can differ by at most one level. The selected wool is also in the same grade, and the price is almost the same. Opponents in each stone game will be randomly matched to avoid cheating. The current time should be the halftime session just after a stone betting battle. There is a 3-minute countdown in the upper right corner of the screen. Beijing habitually looked around from the corner of his eye, eliminating the danger in advance, and inadvertently saw what the middle-aged man named Zhou Gud was saying to a beautiful young man. When the stone gambling battle was about to start, the young man gritted his teeth, as if he had finally made up his mind, and the end of his eyes were excitedly dyed bright red. And then the light brains of both of them flashed at the same time. Beijing retracted his eyes, and the brown eyes under the lens showed a hint of coldness. This Zhou Gud is deceiving the newcomer again. If the young man loses the bet, he will end up miserably. At the end of the countdown, the sweet-looking host appeared in front of the screen. Hello everyone, I'm the host Han Shu, and now the second stone game will start today. Standing on my left hand is the second-level stone gambler Shai Hang. At the age of 18, he reached the second-level stone gambler at a young age. The betting rate is 14.25%. Welcome. The camera showed Shai Hang, a handsome young man with neat short hair and an arrogant look. There were 5 stones on the stand beside him, which were the wool he had chosen. The next candidate to play against Shai Hang is Miss Lena, who is in my right hand. She is 23 years old and is also a second-level stone gambler. The gambling increase rate is 12.75%. Applause. Lena is a quiet woman with a slender stature, who smiles at everyone when the camera cuts to her. The host, let's first look at the wool material selected by the stone gambler Shai Hang. He chose the wool material that is priced at 30,000 star coins in the D area. Let's take a closer look. On the left half of the screen, the appearance of 5 pieces of wool is enlarged, and a holographic mode is presented in 360 degrees without dead ends, and the audience on the star network can also touch it. Beijing looked at it carefully and saw that the surface of some wool was yellow-brown, some black and some gray, and the size was also from the size of 2 fists to more than half a meter high, which was very different. One of the surfaces had an irregular ring of green, and there was something like moss on the underside. He stretched out his hand and touched it, and the virtual technology perfectly restored the touch of wool, but in Beijing's eyes, it was a dirty stone. Let's continue to look at the wool material selected by Miss Lena. It is also the wool material at the price of 30,000 stars in the D-level area. Please observe carefully. Following the host's introduction, another 5 pieces of wool material were displayed on the right half of the screen, numbered 6 to 10. The next time is the time to select the wool bet, and the time is 50 minutes. Overall, the time is not long, only 5 minutes per piece of wool on average. The people around are carefully observing the surface and texture of the wool, touching the surface from time to time to feel the touch, or illuminating it with a strong light, which looks very professional. Listening to their discussion, Beijing also began to sense wool with his abilities. He put his perception into the piece of wool with yellow sandskin and lumpy pine blossoms on the surface. As soon as the perceptive power penetrates into the wool material, the activity is felt. However, this activity is only a thin layer, and it is obviously impossible to produce jadeite. This should be what people often say depends on the skin green. Bai Jing watched 4 or 5 pieces one after another, but there was no activity. It was not until the 7th piece that he finally had a little reaction, but it was worse than the oily green seed yesterday. The last 3 are dead and nothing. Bai Jing sighed inwardly. Betting on stones is really a loss of 9 bets out of 10. Even a stone gambler would have a hard time making jadeite. It was still early, and he walked quietly to Zhou Ge and the boy, observing them from the corner of his eye. Zhou Ge studied these wool materials repeatedly, and finally gritted his teeth and spent 10,000 star coins to vote number 1. In his opinion, the wool of this piece of yellow sandskin is more blockable, and Shahang became a second-level stone gambler at a young age, and the betting rate is also higher. He trusts the judgment of the other party. The beautiful young man next to him glanced at Zhou Ge with a nervous expression, and also bet 5,000 star coins on no one wool material. In fact, he only has a savings of 1,000 star coins, and the other 4,000 is borrowed from a middle-aged man. But as long as he makes the right bet, he will not have to worry about the tuition fees this semester, and he can even buy a lot of mecha parts. Come learn. Bai Jing saw the expressions of the two in his eyes, and deliberately coughed a few times, attracting the eyes of the two. Zhou Ge looked at him a few times, and his eyes flashed. Oh, isn't this the newcomer from yesterday? He remembered clearly that this kid won the first bet, and it was scary luck. I don't know which one he bet this time. As a frequent visitor in casinos, Zhou Ge believes in luck. As the old saying goes, it is hard for a fairy to break an inch of jade. Even gods can't judge, so don't you have to rely on luck. He smiled and approached Bai Jing and greeted warmly. Little brother, do you still remember me? I lent you 1,000 star coins to bet yesterday. Bai Jing gave him a cold look and ignored it. Zhou Ge didn't get a response from the other party, and he was embarrassed, but he secretly hated. One day he will press this beautiful young man under his body and make him cry and beg for mercy. The sound of a 1-minute countdown came, and the white spot opened his brain and planned to bet. Zhou Ge stood not far from Bai Jing, quietly stood on tiptoe, stretched his neck and looked at Guangnao. Bai Jing hooked his lips, and also raised his wrist slightly to let him see. Number 7. Zhou Ge secretly wrote down the number, but he wanted to see how lucky this young man was. The host Liang Qi appeared on the holographic screen again. Everyone has been waiting for a long time. The results of the bet have come out. Let's take a look at the final odds, which are. The corresponding odds of no. 1 to 10 wool are displayed on the big screen in a timely manner. No. 1 is 4.8 and no. 7 is 10.6. Perhaps because of Shihang's fame, the odds of no. 1 to 5 are almost all lower than the odds of 6 to 10. 10 experienced stone masters immediately stepped forward, communicated with the 2 stone gamblers, and prepared to cut the first knife according to the performance of the wool. Shihang was also more optimistic about the no. 1 yellow sandskin wool. He walked to the first calcite master and personally guided calcite. If the bet goes up this time, he will be 1 step closer to the 3rd-level stone gambler. Soon, the first knife cut off an inch along the edge of the pine flower. It's green, it's green. Everyone exclaimed, only to see that on the left half of the screen, the cut of no 1 wool material revealed a 2-finger-wide yang green, and the color was very positive. Shihang's proud brows and eyes were dyed with joy, carefully observing the trend of green, and asked the calcic master to put on a grinding wheel to wipe the stone. As the opening got bigger and bigger, the green color gradually revealed. It was about the size of an adult's palm. Zhou Ge's eyes were fixed on Shihang's movements. He was very optimistic about this piece of wool, and the color of the skylight he opened was also correct. As long as he made another knife, the big increase would be solid. But before he could smile, he heard a burst of sighs. Oh, green didn't eat it. It's a pity, what a beautiful Yang Lu. It's skin green, it's broken. I saw the next 2 cuts from the bottom, and the exposed cuts were all white stones, and the green was only a layer on the surface. When it collapsed, Shihang pursed his lips tightly and placed the cut stone on the ground, and his betting rate would drop again. TMD, how can it collapse like this? Zhou Gui's eyes were red, and he cursed in anger. In the past 2 days, his luck is really bad. He has lost hundreds of thousands of star coins one after another. Even if he has a small wealth, he can't help tossing like this. The young man standing next to him trembled when he saw the result. He didn't dare to fall to his knees on the ground. His hands clasped his head and his hair tightly, and he covered his face and wept. It's over, it's over, it's over. Not only did he lose his savings, but he was also instigated by middle-aged people to owe debts, and his tuition fees were not secured. What should he do? The young man could not wait to slap himself a few times and wake up the dreaming self just now. Zhou Gui was in a bad mood after losing the gamble. He grabbed the boy's hair by the crowd's cover and grinned in his ear. I'll give you two choices. One is to go to the Stone Casino and work as a coolie for 5 years. It is to let Lao Tzu work hard a few times. Which one do you choose? Hey, woo-woo, I choose to be dried. The scalp of the teenager is hurt. He also wants to go to school. Can only choose this kind of humiliation. Bai Jing lowered his eyes, covering the surging murderous intent in his eyes, this kind of scum. The wool materials on the stage were solved one by one, and finally the No. 7 wool material was solved with a dry green jadeite, weighing 9.8 kilograms. Although it was a low-end jadeite, it was not small, and was eventually taken away with 100,000 star coins, announcing the end of this stone gambling battle. Bai Jing bet 3,000 star coins on No. 7, and at odds of 10.6, he earned nearly 30,000 star coins at one time. Number 7. When Zhou Gui heard the number of jadeite's wool, he suddenly looked at Bai Jing, and he saw that the number 7 was entered by the teenager on his brain at that time. It was like someone who had been in a drought for a long time suddenly encountered Gan Lin, and the gold digger finally found the gold coin. Zhou Gui's bloodshot eyes lit up in an instant, exuding a morbid frenzy. The luck of this young man is simply against the sky. As long as you bet with him, you will definitely win it back. Stone gambling is like this: the harder you lose, the more you want to win. In normal times, Zhou Gui, who specializes in deceiving people, would never be so impulsive. But at this time, he was hit by successive failures, and his unwillingness reached the extreme. Soon, the third round of betting is about to begin. Bai Jing looked at Zhou Gui, who kept changing angles beside him. For fear of missing any of his movements, sneered in his heart, and the fish took the bait. He had already won the bet once, and if he won again, it would be easy to attract attention and even be banned by the Gu family. So he will deliberately lose in this game, just to punish this scum. It can be said to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Bai Jing pretended to be researching wool, but in fact he focused on listening to other people's discussions, and vaguely learned that No. 2 and No. 8 seemed to be doing well. He penetrated deep into the No. 2 wool material, and the moment he penetrated the leather shell, a strong sense of dizziness hit him, making him almost unsteady, and a fine cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Bai Jing grabbed the wall next to him with his left hand to prevent himself from falling, and put his right hand on his forehead and gently kneaded it, and it took a while to calm down. This was also the case yesterday. At that time, I thought it was caused by hunger. Now it seems that the use of powers has reached its limit. Bai Jing had this feeling once, and it was caused by continuously investigating zombies for 10 hours in a difficult mission. The super-frequency and highly cohesive state overwhelmed his perception, causing a dizziness in front of him. However, he later controlled the frequency of use and strengthened the accuracy of his perception, and there has been no overdraft since then. It seems that it takes a lot of energy to sense the jade in the wool. At present, his ability can only sense 10 pieces of wool at most. Starting from the 11th piece, it will be overdrawn. Fortunately, the No. 2 wool skin is very active, and, as soon as he enters it, he can feel the abundant vitality. He guessed that there is definitely jade inside, and it is very likely to be high-quality jade. Bai Jing thought about it for a while, clicked on his brain, and bet 1,000 star coins on the 3rd and 8th respectively. The stone bet must be all right in order to win, and as long as he doesn't bet on number 2, it means he loses. Zhou Gui glanced at Bai Jing's choice from his brain, and couldn't help but raise his head to observe the 2 pieces of wool again. No. 8 was originally his more optimistic, and the more he looked at it, the more he felt that it was easy to get jade from this wool, although No. 3 performed in general, but the black and black sand leather shell was more gambling, but it was possible. He has been losing for the past 2 days, and this kid is unlucky. Why don't you just follow him to bet more and earn back what you lost before? Zhou Gui's heart was beating extremely fast, and he seemed to see a large amount of star coins flying towards him after he won the bet. At that time, everyone will look at him with envious eyes, and he will be ashamed. Whoosh! Zhou Gui's breathing suddenly became heavy, staring at the light brain interface with red eyes, and pressing down on the No. 3 and No. 8 buttons.